Halloween Ends is a brand new 2022 slasher film directed by David Gordon Green, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Andy Madchak, and James Jude Courtney. Uh, yeah, I was very excited for this movie. I'm a huge self-admitted Halloween fanatic. It's my favorite horror franchise of all time. This hurts. Uh, yeah, let's just go ahead and start off with the good. And yeah, like I said, this hurts. There's a few things I liked. First of all, Jamie Lee Curtis is obviously great in this movie. I love Jamie Lee Curtis, like I've said countless times by this point. She's my favorite actress of all time, along with Viola Davis. And I think that this is probably her best performance as Laurie Strode. This is probably the most human-feeling performance of this character by Jamie Lee Curtis. It's back to the basics of her portrayal from 1978, where 2018 in Halloween Kills, she was a little bit more Shakespearean with how she spoke. She actually spoke like a normal human being in this movie, and I can respect that, and I really did like that. I thought that she was good in this movie. Then you have Andy Madchak as Allison, and she's just as good as she is in the first two movies. In this one, I really like her performance. I really like her chemistry with Jamie Lee Curtis. They really do feel like grandmother and granddaughter within this film. And I really like the story arc that Allison gets in this movie. I really like the character development she goes through. And I thought that they did have a pretty satisfying conclusion for her character in this movie. I think you have Michael in this movie, and I really love Michael. He's my favorite slasher of all time, and for what we do get of Michael, James Jude Courtney once again proves he is amazing as the Shape, and I really love him. I thought he had a pretty good presence and performance in this movie. He has a pretty good kill near the halfway point, and I thought it was interesting what they were doing with this character, but I'll get a little bit more on that later. And the score in this movie is really good. I really like the score. John Carpenter did a really great job with the score, and David Gordon Green once again did a great job with the directing. And that's about all for the good. I'm going to go ahead on to the bad, and there's a few things, a lot of things I was not a fan of in this movie. First of all, every other character in this movie is either pointless or given nothing to do at all. You brought back Lindsay, who was one of the only returning characters from Kills that didn't die. She's given nothing to do. You get Officer Hawkins, who was resurrected in Halloween Kills from getting stabbed in the neck. A lot of people get stabbed in the neck in this franchise and they don't die, but that's beside my point. But he survives in Halloween Kills. He's given nothing to do, and then there's just a lot of other characters. They're just so unlikable, or they just don't do anything. It's kind of frustrating. And this is a more character-driven film than a horror film, and I liked the character-driven aspect of the movie, but when it overshadows the fact that this is supposed to be a slasher film, I'm just not a fan of what they did there. Like I said, I don't mind a good character-driven horror film, but when the character-driven aspect overshadows the horror aspect, that's when I get a bit of a problem. It's not terrible, but it's not exactly what I would have liked in this movie. And without getting into too many spoilers, I don't really want to talk spoilers that much. I did not like the final act of this movie. It was just so underwhelming and honestly anticlimactic. And the final battle between Michael and Laurie, the thing that they've been hyping up ever since they announced these two sequels in 2019, I'm sorry, it just should have been better. And I don't know, it was just underwhelming. And the way that they ended this movie, again, it's very underwhelming, anticlimactic. And yeah, aside from that, the opening credits were also underwhelming. And usually the opening credits are some of the best parts about these movies, but even that was a little underwhelming. Maybe just the color font they chose for the text. I don't know. I'm nitpicking at this point, but uh, yeah, that's about all for the bad. Final thoughts. I was not a fan of Halloween Ends, as much as it hurts to say it. I was very disappointed in it. Halloween Ends is probably the most disappointing movie of the year, and at this point, I can only give it a 6 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on Halloween Ends. Have you seen this movie yet? What did you think about it? Let me know down in the comments what you thought about it. I'd love to hear from you. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.